Hello,
What's
Internet.
going on, everybody?
Hey, Internet. What's up?
Hey.
How you doing?
How you
What's
webbing?
How you
We
webbing?
are
Internet.
right.
Keep on webbing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
an interesting
wow.
reference. That's an interesting reference for those who haven't watched X-Men '97, but we'll leave it at that. So, um, you know, on another note, welcome to Carbonite Bound to BS, guys. It's this day has finally came for all of us. The death of the
Three years,
Bad Batch,
three
so to
years in the
speak, of the
making.
series.
The finale.
3
The
years in the
finale. And
making.
what a
This is the
finale. What a
finale.
finale it was.
This
It
is the
did.
finale.
It was the finale. It was the finale
Uh,
of all finales. They
I'll
had
let,
it right
I'll
from the,
leave that
from the
to
first
other
note.
people.
From the first note of the music and the way they brought back the Imperial March was there. And so it was all there. It was all right there. So
Yeah.
stop shaking your
We'll
head.
leave that to
It was
other
good.
people.
Just admit it and move on.
I'm happy with the ending. But before we dive into the juice of this episode, we got some housekeeping to do. So let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us at first.
Nerdcyclopedia.com. On social media, we're at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on TikTok.
For now.
If you're listening to us on podcasts, we're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Google Play, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. Guess what? We're there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Also hit that notification button. So anytime that you're on, you know that we're on. If you are watching us on Facebook, we're on Carbonate Bound to BS, a Star Wars group. Make sure that you tell your friends, share, and join. Give them to join the group so they can be a part of the Star Wars conversation. Email us, nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting emails. Making sure that you giving your feedback to us so we can give it right back to you.
Good stuff. And I don't know where to start, so I'll let I'll let whoever wants to run with it run with it.
So here's the thing. So let's just it's a series finale of a great series.
Great characters. Great characters.
Good characters.
I like that. I like that. I like your energy, DP. I'm liking this energy. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it through the force.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it through the force. I'm liking this energy. I'm just gonna go left real quick, but I'm liking your energy.
So I mean my sense of the Bad Batch. I mean I love the characters. I think this episode just ended off sort of the way that it was really supposed to end off, with us centralizing back to the characters. We talked last week about them check cashing and all that stuff, but I think the Bad Batch was just always about these five these characters, are Clone Force 99 and also Omega. That's really what it's already, or that's what it's been about all this time and everything. And for them to centralize back to that, and for it to be like a rescue operation and everything for Omega, a little cliche, a little tropey to a degree and everything. But I think it really still got to the heart of what we expected out of really out of this series and everything. A family, a group, getting together, protecting each other, looking out for one another and everything. And that's what they did all the way up into the end, into the flash forward into the future and everything. I can't wait to see more of Omega. I mean, I was always wishing this girl would grow up, and now now that we're getting it, I can't wait to see what they decide what they want to do further with this character. I was very positive about this finale. I know where T Mitch is going to go. I'm sort of agreeing with him to a degree, but I'm accepting finale as it is, as it was presented to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on board with DP, but I'm not going to be that harsh on the show. I kind of align with him. There were checks that I wanted cash that didn't get cash. To be 100% honest, it was a good ending, as Ken said. It wasn't iconic. It's crazy. It was 45 minutes, and the 45 minutes were rushed. It
51.
just, to me, 51.
51,
The
51
runtime
minutes.
was 51, but
Al-
we didn't get
almost
51
an
minutes of
hour.
action. But we got around like 42 minutes of the actual show. But you know, it cashed a lot of checks. It was rushed to me. It seemed like they needed two more episodes, or at least one more, because the ending, there was just so much going on. The way they dispatched a couple characters, the ending for certain characters, and unanswered questions, it literally seemed rushed for 40 minutes. That's all I'm saying. And to give Filoni credit, he didn't. So he might have designed this show. He was not the executive producer. So I did some research on this. There were two people that actually produced this show. So I'm not putting this any more of the buck on Filoni, but yeah, to me, it's just the show that it was like a roller coaster that never really got going. You know what I mean? It's just action pace. The pacing was just bad on it. It was a great episode. It centralized the story as far as family. I really like how it ended. To me, the ending though left a lot more questions that I didn't want. We talk about and Hitch. Me and Hitch has talked about this. Like you don't leave it open certain ways in certain things to interpretation. You know what I mean? It almost like they like punch yourself in the face. Like why would you do certain things? There are certain things that were uncalled for that I didn't think they should have did, but hey, I'm happy that it ended. I'm happy that everybody made it out for the most part, and interested to see, and we'll talk about it during the show. Like, so we got the time jump. So now she's part of the Republic Army. So now we have another Force sensitive who can fly planes. I don't know. We'll discuss it, but like I said, they could have left the flash forward scene, I think, out. Personally, it just leaves and too many answers that I don't think we'll get answers for. But Ken, I'm sure, is probably going to flip the script, and we'll see where Hitch lands. So I know, Ken will definitely flip the script on this.
I understand where you're coming from. I know that there was a lot introduced, especially in this last season. There was a lot of storylines and tags introduced, but the main arc was presented as we were used to from season 1, season 2. This is just about rogue clones kind of trying to find their way, trying to make their mark and survive, because they have no one but themselves. So that's always been the story. It doesn't matter. They take all this stuff about the cloning. We got all excited because there was all this like cloning technology, and there's Kaminoans back, and there's actually Nala say there's actually an actual Kaminoan doing this work under lock and key, but that was just a new story. That was just a new little challenge for our gang. I think that what I said last week came true. Tarkin never thought this was a complete waste of money, complete waste of resources, and he got his way. And this is how Stardust came about. This is now he appropriated all these funds that were being wasted on this medical crap onto actual military technology. I think Hemlock had his own agenda, and I kind of had this, like, he had the hand issue, just like Crosshair. And I wonder, it started to occur to me as I watched the episode a couple of times, was Hemlock a clone? Like, was Hemlock, because he's very clone-ish. He looks a lot like sort of a cross between Hunter and Rex. He's got similar facials, and he's very flat, very unemotional. So I wonder if there's some, I'd like to know a little backstory about Hemlock, but he was on his own agenda. Necromancer was a joke, had nothing to do with the Empire, had to do with Hemlock's greed, and if you give a child enough toys to play with and enough time in a room by themselves, they're going to create destruction and pain and suffering. You'll learn, Steel City. You will learn. Even though you got a girl, you'll learn.
My kid's 2.5, man. I mean,
It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long for a 2.5-year-old to start.
I'm pretty sure my daughter's older than the Confederacy ever was at this point.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
So
we
gaining
had the
experience.
story. The Calvary's here, Omega. We knew that Emery was going to be a friend. We knew the Zillow Beast was going to be a friend. And it all, to me, this episode was Star Wars. From the opening music, because the music was different, so was the opening intro. It was very dark side. It was very ominous because we didn't see the Bad Batch logo all lit up. It was grayed out. So that meant something. Also, there was a different music. It had undertones of sort of an Imperial March. And then as soon as the Bad Batch showed up, we got that theme. We got our theme back. And that from that moment to the end, it was just for me, it was a Star Wars roller coaster. It really had everything that I enjoy about Star Wars. I like to see people overcoming great deficit. And I like the way it ended. And I did like the epilogue, seeing Omega join the rebellion. And I loved the way they threw, for the fanboys out there, in her cockpit of her spaceship, there was Luke's Death Star trench computer display, where he was running down the trench to the vacuum shaft. So there was a lot there. They tied everything up real nicely. Nice little bow. I thought it was great. Good way to end a season. As far as the checks cashed, just endorse them and cash them in a different bank. Who cares? Just stop. Just stop. It's done. It's over. We can move on.
Thank you. I like to hear that. Let's just move on, please.
And that's the thesis statement, right? All right, Ken.
It is.
We're moving on. All right, we're done with this.
Moving on to something else. But we're going to find out what language Omega speaks. But I still can understand that girl.
She's New Zealand, by the way, the actress. That's why she has that like rough, whatever.
Sure, and Emery's got a little bit too. I had to watch the subtitles for Emery because she's got a little bit of that twang.
I thought they were the same actress, but apparently they're not.
They're not.
No, I never thought they were the same, but they have the same accent, same emphasis on different syllables in their words. It's hard to understand.
So right now it's 2-1. We'll see where Hitch is going here.
Well, so last week I said, "Hey, I'm looking for some moolah, some of that sweet do-re-mi, simoleons, clams. I'm looking for some of that currency that Disney owes us, that keeps us coming back. That Star Wars. This is where I want it. I want it in my veins, and I want them to keep it pumping." I enjoyed this episode a lot. Did it answer all the questions I had? No, of course not. Is any episode ever going to answer all the questions I have? No, nothing ever does. So I shouldn't expect it in Star Wars. But I thought this was a very enjoyable episode of Star Wars. I thought it had the characteristics I like of a heist situation, the breakout, which is part of the original Star Wars, breaking in, breaking out. I thought the use of the Godzilla monster, which was Chekhov's Godzilla monster, right? So they paid that off real well. I thought that the fact that it was so overpowered, they were just like, just let it run through all the buildings.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let's just get out of the way. And then I really, really enjoyed the shot of that thing running off through the jungle, like Rah! like just running off into the sunset. So this episode had a lot of really good stuff going for it, and I think it's definitely serves as a good capstone for the series. I'm kind of glad they didn't really explicitly explain what was going on with Project Necromancer. I like very much the show not tell, and sort of the just the chaos of going up against these augmented clones. These, I don't know if they're Jedi clones or if they're supposed to be like the Bad Batch, but the Good Batch.
Clone commandos is what they were referred to in the story, like whatever that means. Yeah.
So like, is there like an infinite line of these? There's like, are they different like types? There's a lot of questions they didn't really answer, and it doesn't matter because no one can make them anyway. They're all dead, and I'll say took care of that, and she took care of Rampart as well. That's a really great, the Revenge of Camino, really great scene there. One of my favorite ways for an arrogant villain to die is one of those, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, I didn't account for the grenade type of deals. So I really enjoyed that scene a lot too. My feelings on the epilogue there. I mean, there's got to be a reason you include something like that, right? So
Exactly.
this is the new Omega, model, right? This is the new animation blank for Omega in the next series. And hey, man, do you guys know any squadrons that flew for the Republic during the Rebellion? Maybe they didn't do everything they were supposed to do, and sometimes didn't follow orders.
You'd have to go in the lore. You'd have to study like the Battle of Yavin. I mean,
Yeah, you'd have to know about
where
this
she's
guy.
winding up. That's where she's going.
Well, that's not a great place for her to be, because the Battle of Yavin obviously not light on Republic on a Rebellion pilots, right? It's a tough night for the Air Force.
There were a couple that survived, but there were some that we never knew who their call signs were. They were in Y wings, and 2 were in A wings that were also accompanying Red Squadron. So she could have been involved and survived. So
And she'd be what, like 30 years oldish, because she has regular growth too. So she'd be like 34, 35. That's probably about right for an experienced like wing commander or squadron commander. You'd think, right?
It should be old. She'd be older than Luke, but same age as Biggs or Antilles. Basically the same age.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking, right? Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's who. If we're going to see her mixed with some pilots in the Rebellion, I want to see. Yeah, it'd be cool to see Biggs at some point, but I want to see Wedge Antilles. I want to see the legend of Wedge, man. The guy who's like widely considered the best ever non-force sensitive pilot in the history of the galaxy.
Yep, he's the only one aside from Luke that survived the whole mess. I mean, he was there at the end of Jedi. So,
well, remember, Luke only blew up only went on one Death Star run. Wedge did 2. Wedge actually had that over him, which is pretty awesome. Although Luke gets to put it on
too.
Well, Luke gets to put it on the side of his X-wing, right? The big Death Star stamp. But I don't know if Wedge has one on there too. I don't know. You'd have to ask. But I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a good episode, and they put to rest a lot of these questions. Like it's not the Emperor, right? We know it's not a clone of the Emperor. It's some other thing. We know what happens to it next. We know the clones the problem is they're too loyal to each other, right? The loyalty goes this way. And they explicitly stated that. So they did actually cash that check. What is the deal with the clones? What is the problem with the clones? Why are they moving away from the clones? It's because they have too much empathy for each other, which makes sense. They're the same dude. They're all the same guy, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, there's anybody.
Hemlock explained that very romantically. He knew the problem, and he knew why their failure would be inevitable. And he knew why Omega would also fail, and that this was all going to come, he saw it all in a crystal ball. He also didn't see himself getting hit 4 times in the chest and fall off into a forest.
That's a lot of shots. They weren't playing around this episode either, right?
No,
it felt like they had a budget for bullets, and they were like, we got to use it all because there's just not another episode. We got to get all the bullets on screen, and because they were just, man, there's a lot of death, and that's something I don't want to say we look forward to Star Wars, but the wars part of the stakes is what we're looking for.
The second
right?
word is wars.
It is.
War means death.
Yeah, it's not Trek or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not Trek and it's not Star Light.
No.
It's
Please.
Star
It's not the long-term
Wars.
story of establishing a munificent communist government that goes across the entire galaxy and provides for its people as soon as they discover warp drive, and not a day sooner.
Free healthcare for everyone. That's not in the opening scroll of any of the movies.
But if they don't have warp drive yet, nothing. Zilch.
Nothing. They can't.
And nobody talks about that with Star Trek, that they're just willing to let all these people suffer for no reason, for some direct. Anyway, I'm not going to. Let's not talk about that.
There isn't one person causing pain and suffering across the whole galaxy in Star Trek, is there?
No.
No.
What about you?
Who watches it enough to even know? How about that?
Paramount is worse than Disney.
I've watched enough in the interim between Jedi and Phantom Menace. There's a lot of space in there. There's a lot of space, no pun intended. There was
a lot of space.
And you had to fill it with something. You can only watch Close Encounters and Tron so many times before you're like, I need something else. I need some more sci-fi in my life.
I understand.
We know VHSs were broken at your house.
Yeah. The animation on this episode was really good. I mean, I love the darkness and like the lightning, the Camino, and basically just everything that was just surrounded. When they even got to like the light stuff, I was like, go back to the dark stuff. I want to see rain and pitter patter off the trees and all that stuff. I mean, it was a very visually good episode. It's been visually great all this season for real. So they've done some great stuff with the animation. I did like the post if you want to call it end scene or whatever, flash forward. I did like that. I mean, I wanted to I'm excited to see where they're going to go with Omega. I'm assuming they're going to have some sort of IP involved with her, because they can't just end it right there. However they decide they want to do it, whether they're going to continue her story in comics or novels or whatever, we're definitely going to have a lot more Omega. May not have as much Bad Batch because I just see their story is just ended, but Omega, she has a lot more to do, and for us to actually see.
She has more juice, and I liked her. We found out what her actual name, Havoc 5. We hadn't heard that before. I mean, that was her. That's her. Is that her name? Is that just what the name they gave her? The Bad Batch gave her? Because honestly, every time something was happening, Echo was like, "Omega's been here."
Yeah. All the destruction. Yep, that's Omega.
Like the entire hangar was in flames, and
yep, that's Omega.
And this Zillow beast was out, and he's like, Omega's following the plan. Which she did. What plan? She didn't have a plan. She was winging it.
Oh yeah. That's Omega. She's become very likable this season versus what she's been like in prior seasons. I'm just thinking right now that the second season was just a miss compared to the great first season and the great third season as far as this. But overall, I'm glad we just got a continuation of what we did with the Clone Wars, and I'm excited to see how they're going to continue, like, whatever continuation of the story is going to be animated wise and everything. I mean, whatever comes, I'll watch it. It's automatic.
Some reviews I read on the internet criticized that we lost some characters, like we didn't get like Fee, and there are a few others that were like named that nobody really, they were introduced, they had some part, they did something, but then they just disappeared. And they did that with Fennec Shade. Like she was in and then gone.
Yeah,
we didn't really get her back. We didn't really know. So it was like, I kind of was thinking about it. This is like a show, and then they have special guests that kind of pop in, and that was a thing that they did. TV used to do that back in the 60s and the 70s. They used to have a character that's like pop into the story, do something, and then leave.
Well, Ken, I'm sort of looking at like this series is maybe it's the Bad Batch reacting to the galaxy. It's not about the galaxy
reacting to them.
Yeah, reacting to them. The Bad Batch. So all this peripheral stuff that's going on while we're hyper interested because we want to know, we want to get some answers, we want some check cash. The show is really about, the characters reacting to all these events that's happening and how it affects them. How do they react to it? How do, the clones, how do they react to everything that's happening? How do they react to the changes that are going on? How do they feel about that? It's a good way to tell a story. I'm more or less on the T Mitch side, where I'm more if you show that gun, shoot it, shoot it at some point. If you're gonna write a check, cash it and everything. But at the same time, I'm a storyteller. And I'll just say it again. I mean, I like the way that this story ended for for characters. You built these characters up for 3 seasons and everything. And, they're very likable characters. We even, like I said, got a likable character out of Omega after her being so annoying. Well, at least for me, especially that second season.
The first couple episodes, we were like,
yeah,
what's up with her?
Yeah.
She's pretty crazy.
I remember they first introduced them in was it the first episode of Clone Wars and everything, and then it was no Omega there, we just got straight Bad Batch.
Right.
And then they went back to it with their own series and stuff. So yeah. So I mean that's basically where we're at.
And
I think
they
speaking on
did
the whole
show
series,
us the gun and shoot it, didn't they? I mean, we
They
all
shot a lot
wanted
of
to
guns.
know. We all wanted to know what was in the canister, in the can. We wanted to know. Let Prince Albert out of the can. We all wanted to see what Hemlock was hiding, and we saw it. And guess what? Bad Batch dispatched that really cool toy very quickly. I mean, it didn't take long for them to overcome. And bottom line, no matter what you do, they're just clones. They're just clones.
Well, I mean, we wasn't expecting them to save the galaxy, right? That's not what they do.
right?
No, right. But they didn't really save the galaxy. They saved their brothers.
Right.
And that was a great scene. No one talked about that. That was a great scene where Echo is asking them, you know what? You guys have been through a lot, but we're asking you one more time. Give us everything you got. And did anybody walk away? I mean, I could just hear the May the Force be with you theme like ebbing underneath that scene. To me was iconic Star Wars mythology. That's all I mean by that. I just felt it was the way this story should have ended. It was very, very good. My checks have been cashed.
Thinking about the second season, TP, which you I think correctly point out is the weak middle. It feels like the first season and the third season, like they knew it was like they're from this universe where this was three seasons, and then season 2 feels like it comes from a universe where this was like 10 seasons long.
Yeah.
They had way more time to do a lot of extra stuff, and they were
almost like episode 8. It's like 7 and 9 connect, and then you have 8. This is exactly the same way.
And it's weird in the middle. It's like, at a certain point, it's like, it's like when Goku's climbing, Korran's tower. It's like, how long is it going to take him? How many episodes we're going to be climbing the tower? How much can you stretch this? But there was plenty of plot. And as I said, this season felt a little bit back heavy, where they had many, many things happening in the back that they could have kind of maybe distributed more evenly if they knew they needed to get more done in the second season. So it almost feels like they were anticipating this was going to run longer, and they decided to change their mind because of whatever, Disney infighting. We all know how that goes in larger media corporations. The infighting, you'll see department against department, and so there you have it. And I think that they've set themselves up. But what are the checks that are dangling from this? I mean, we want to see now. I want to see Omega be a pilot. That's what they've teed up. So I mean, we better be seeing that somewhere in the next 5 years, right? And I think the clock started tonight.
Well, not only that. I mean, this buds up with Rogue One, because Jyn Erso shows the plans of Operation Stardust. So literally, the ending scene was during Rogue One. So it just causes more. It just causes more questions than answers. I felt like I appreciated it, but it was something that wasn't needed, because it just adds more layers, and I just don't think that they want to even go down that route. Why would you? You've already seen what the ending is. Right?
It works if that could be the prologue from the next series. If you could just take it and stick it on the first episode of that next series, and it would make sense. And I think it's perfect. So maybe that's another way we can look at it, is look, if this is not some misdirection, and it's not just, because I think you're right. As a closure scene, it doesn't really work, because it's just Hunter. Like, where are the rest? Yeah. Where's the other guys?
Exactly. Like, did they die? Like, why wouldn't you like?
They're talking about him in the present tense.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, well, Wrecker was just eating something. Like, that's why he didn't come.
Well, it looked like Hunter was camped out there with Batcher. So I was thinking about that while I was watching it. Like, why is Hunter all by himself? And they are also in the secret parking spot in the mountain.
That's right. That's the secret smuggler tunnel.
It's the secret smuggler's parking spot. So not only do we have Omega there with this, this F-class starship, which we don't even know where she got that from. But here's Hunter by himself with Batcher, who's significantly larger. So we're talking probably 10
I
years.
think it's a 16. What is it? What do we figure out? It's 19 BBY, so it's a 13 year from the end of that to Rogue One. So
Yeah,
it's been about 13 years. Yeah.
So why is Hunter like camped out in the secret smuggler's parking spot, with Batcher? So
just where he lives.
There's something there. There's like, if anyone had anything to say, I'd say, well, where's Crosshair? Where's Wrecker? Where's Echo? Did they move on, or did they die? Are they too old to be on screen anymore? What happened?
Like, definitely where's Crosshair? Crosshair deserved another. I think Crosshair deserved another moment here at the end. I know he was the traitor earlier, but he deserved another moment here, or to sacrifice himself, or something. And I'm not saying it would be necessary for them to kill somebody in this episode, but Crosshair felt like wasn't his redemption that he made that shot, right? Like that he was able to shoot with
his offhand.
Yeah, with his other hand, because he got his hand that was
They Jamie Lannister Crosshair in this, man. He got the Jamie Lannister treatment, man. That's tough.
Well, the crazy part is, bro, they kill their own brother and they don't even know it. They Easter egg that, if you guys didn't realize it, the guy was Tech. You saw his helmet on the ground. It had the two eyes. Like, the helmet was Tech's helmet. So they literally killed their own brother. Like, that's one of the things that pissed me off with the way they've done this show and certain things. Because, like, they do these checks, right? Like, why would you Easter egg Tech and then not show his helmet or nothing? I caught it because that's the first thing I noticed. Why would you then telegraph his helmet?
So my thinking was that these are clones of the Bad Batch, but they're they're the Bad Batch. This is the good batch. It's like if everything worked out, so like Wrecker isn't some messed up monster. He's just tall. You know what I mean? He's built like he's built like an NBA power forward, right? Like not like some huge.
That definitely was like the Tech like telegraph, and I was like, wow, you're really gonna do that at this point?
But they left it. At least they left it ambiguous, so it's not like no, I'm not Tech.
Right.
Correct. You know what I mean? It's just maybe not. And I think if you were the Bad Batch and you only had, because it's interesting and poetic that they do it this way, because the Bad Batch isn't going to be able to go back and like check any of this stuff out. They're only going to get that little piece of information, and it's not like they had any time. So it's sort of it's just sort of presented as it was presented. You know what I mean? It's kind of the way we see it, the way they saw it.
Well, considering it is a war show, Star Wars and everything, the Bad Batch are, a squad and stuff. The scene that you use for your for the intro, same thing we use for like the thumbnail and everything, really showed just Crosshair and Hunter as what's left of our squad or our band of brothers and everything. Omega, she's a hanger on, or if you want to call it that. But really, it's Tech, Wrecker. Was Wrecker even on that shot?
Yes.
Yeah, Wrecker was on that shot. So it was Wrecker. Right. Yeah, so basically we were just missing Tech, right?
Yeah. Well,
and sometimes Echo, he's a sometimes he would have.
Yeah, Echo was always off.
Yeah.
But Echo's also kind of dead too. So it's like, it really evens out.
But I mean, the point I'm saying is that it's just you don't go through this without some sort of collateral damage, and I think that scene was just displaying to me in the shot, was just letting us know that we don't have our whole crew together that we had from the beginning, and it just let us know that there was a missing partner or Tech, that ended up dying like at the end of last season and everything, and while we had speculation that he was going to come back as unknown soldier and stuff, I kind of like the fact that they didn't go that route, and just left it. Okay, this is the results of war. This is what you get, and at the end and everything.
Right, because it is Star Wars, and people die on both sides of the coin. People that we like, people that we don't like, people that we want to see come back. Now, it's interesting that the cloning aspect of the story that was introduced, in Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones brought back that sort of more, immortality for some of our heroes, that they could come back, and it would make sense, and we wouldn't be surprised to see Emperor Palpatine return at some point.
Yeah.
That just seems to make sense because now we have cloning technology. We don't know how that happened, though.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
somehow he returned.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
And it's because of this cloning technology that really allows the story and all of our characters to have longevity.
They could live forever with this cloning technology. You could just create an artificial intelligence actor to play the character and just have him be in everything.
As long as you have a viable copy that isn't gonna, like, maybe that's an explanation for Jar Jar. Maybe Jar Jar was a clone of somebody that just kind of went haywire. Like maybe they tried to cross Chewbacca with Yoda and they got Jar Jar. And it just, oh, well, that was a mistake. We'll send them to Naboo, and we'll just forget about it.
The Caminos are like, every technician from that pod committed suicide.
And now we know why. We know.
So we won't do that again.
My question now, and I think this harkens back to Andor when we got, the heist with the funds and all that stuff, money and
the payroll,
yeah,
in more accounts.
So when they talk about funding, you like shift funding and everything towards that, I'm just like, okay, the Empire basically controls and rules everything, right? For the most part. So who are they trading with? Who are they getting funding from? Why do they need to pay? Like,
well, put it this way. I mean, they're paying like, like general workers, but the Empire doesn't want to look as like some communist government. So they want to still like pay employees kind of to do work. Even though they are they're ran like that, they want the illusion of like we're gonna pay contractors to work on the Death Star, right? Even though we know that it's like an empire, right? And it's a ruler that essentially he could tell them like, hey, you're gonna work for nothing, and you're gonna build my Death Star for nothing. So I think it's more the illusion, because if you're right, they could just steal the technology or just get whatever they need resource-wise to build it. So the funding thing was always a weird thing because they can essentially build all the ships. I mean, because think about it. If we're talking about funding, how does the Final Order be created? Like, how does he fund all these ships in the unknown regions?
Wow, that's a great question. That's definitely a question I had sitting in this movie theater in 2019. Like, how the hell did he build all these ships?
Right. How did they get the money for all this? And nobody ever talks
How's
about
he affording this?
Because
this must cost a fortune.
All we see is money changing hands, and it's all gambling, and it's all like the Hutts and the money.
Yeah, but
the Empire isn't even dealing with money.
Exactly. The Hutts weren't even paying the Empire. The Hutts was like, in the Pikes, that was like the underworld. He wasn't like going to them like, hey, I need 20% of whatever you're making or whatever. That was their own money. So yeah, like I don't know what he needed to fund. If anything, he might have needed to mine planets for researches. But other than that, like I don't understand the monetary aspect.
Empire is still going to levy
research, right? You want to fund your research.
An empire is still going to levy and collect taxes. That's actually one of the things the Romans were the best at, and they farmed out their tax collection by auction. So if you bid, whoever the highest bidder was, like if I said I'm going to collect all the taxes for Germany, we would compete. And if I said, okay, I'll give you $50 billion for all the tax revenue from Germany, I would hand you $50 billion, and then it would be up to me to go to Germany and squeeze it out of Germany. So, the idea that these governors, these moffs, aren't told to go and do, economically exploitative things to their regions it's probably wrong. And I think you see that with lots and lots of these building projects in the Eye, for instance, with Andor and so many other different things. So certainly there would be a budget for the Empire. Now, could Palpatine maximize it so that he is, grinding everybody to dust constantly and, driving everybody to the ground next week? We could, but then he'd have to deal with rebellions and people hating him and lots of problems.
That's a board meeting I don't want to see. I don't need to do a series for me as a fan. I don't need to see how the Empire is running, like the actual like paperwork going on behind the scenes.
No,
I don't want to see it.
But at the same instance, I kind of want to see what these guys spend their money on. You know, if they're being funded, if he's paying people, if he's having so-called employees or even presenting the illusion and everything, what are they spending their money on? Is it just drinking, going to bars, going to you know? I mean, that's almost like the most for what we see. Do they have motivations to make money? Like, how does the mechanics work as far as that? You know,
I think they do need to show us what does wealth buy, you know, in the Star Wars universe, and they do that a little bit in Episode 8, but they don't spend a lot of time talking about. You're right, the economics of this, like being a stormtrooper, right? How's that pay? Is that like being a private in the United States Army? Is that doesn't pay great from what I hear? Is that like, you know, being a, you know, like a warlord from, you know, the Bronze Age or something? Is it like you'd seen like that? You know, we don't know that sort of stuff. But what we do know is that building the Death Star is a stretch for the Empire. And what is being portrayed to us here is that it was not easy to come up with the space and the budget to secretly build this you know, planet destroying battle station, right? That's what they're showing to us. And it makes sense because in Andor, right, man, he's got to really start putting the screws to everybody, because now, you know, now he's willing to take a little bit more extra because he's getting closer to the finish line, right? He has everything he needs, but he needs the labor. So now the Empire cracks down because the Emperor just needs more bodies. That's it. That's what causes that. So until he needs to do that, he's not going to crack down because it's just harder to manage. Now, after the Death Star is in place, he's not going to care at all, because if you mess with him, he'll blow your planet up. And he's not just proven that he's able to do it; he's proven that he's willing to do it, just to prove a point. Just to prove a point, he'll blow up the planet.
And that's Tarkin's motivation. That's
right.
His absolute motivation is to build this thing and inflict fear and pain and suffering on anyone that will not fall in line. And that's the point. And I don't think the money was a problem. I think that line where he was going to appropriate all funds, I think that was a very romantic gesture of his. I think it was something that he needed to say and to make himself feel like he was getting his way. But I don't think they had any illusion, right? Because they immediately started building Death Star 2 as soon as the first one was destroyed, or they might have had that one already in, you know, going. I mean, you don't, when you're as big and when you're a monolith like the Empire is, you don't have to worry about that. You don't need to worry about it. You just do it. It's not even a thing. We're trying to put our own little, how are we going to get, how are we going to have the money to build that Star Destroyer? Doesn't matter. You just build it. You will it out of the ether. That's
I don't know. I think they still need
Empire so evil is it doesn't matter.
But they still were paying bounty hunters and all this, so they still had to I mean, think about the resources he's talking about stretching. They're paying all these people to find Force sensitive. So there's a point to where
change, though. I mean,
you don't have to think of it like money, right? Because it's not really like that. You're right. They could, if he's like, oh, we need more gold, we'll turn the spigot on, right? Like that. I believe you're correct about that. But it's not just about the money spigot. It's about the people, and it's about prioritization and attention, right? I mean, if I have 100 people on my work crew, I can prioritize 100 days worth of work on every day, right? That's finite. It ends at a certain point. So if we're talking about just, you know, even if we're talking about just what the bureaucracy is capable of, and we know there's an imperial bureaucracy because they talk about it in explicit detail in episode 4, right? We know there's an imperial bureaucracy that's ready to take direct control, right?
The regional governors will now control the systems, right? The regional governors. So what does that mean?
That means
basically nothing.
That means Boba Fett's job is pointless.
Yeah, a little bit more difficult. Boba Fett's job just became a little more difficult.
I don't even remember what I was talking about now. We're talking about Boba Fett.
See? I mean, so Ken, you're talking about how this was iconic. We're literally just going to forget the fact that we didn't pay off what's going on with Rex, right? We're just going to forget about him. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it, bro. They did too much, and it's not Filoni's fault. It's the team who designed the episodes.
Well, again, those were characters that were brought in to
But
to
you can't
cause
bring
a
a character
reaction
like
with the
Rex,
Bad
no.
Batch. They weren't.
Yeah,
They weren't
but
really part of the
Rex
story.
is a character that needs a payoff. He is
Before Order 66. Sure,
But we know about.
After
We
Order
do see Rex later. We see Rex later in Rebels,
Yeah, he comes back.
so he comes back. So it's
Yeah,
not like they
that's
left that
not in the
dangling.
series.
So we're just saying
Hmm.
he just magically escaped, right?
It is interesting that they're like, take the kids, call this dude, right? Send him here, and he never shows up. Like, does that mean the kids are all right? Or no, we know that's not the case. We see him later, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird you say his name and he doesn't appear.
Like you don't trust Emery to take care of the kids? I mean, we don't really need. What do we need Rex for?
How many times do you have to run a government experiment that takes the blood of children before they don't trust you with children? Shouldn't it be one? Shouldn't one be the number on that?
Well, 1 or 2 offenses. I think they need to start looking at you. But I mean, that's that.
And then what's she gonna say? It's like, well, they were already taking these kids' blood when I showed up. So
Oh, she definitely was like one of those people that like definitely passed the buck. She was like, "Oh yeah, once I knew that this was bad, like, bro, do me a favor. You already knew this shit was shady
I
as
gave
hell.
one
Like,
of those kids a baby
you know what I
doll.
mean? Yeah, right. You gave your sister's toy away. Like,
It
come on.
wasn't that bad. They had
You know
toys. They had droids.
They had
There
things
we
to
go.
play with. They weren't being beat
Right.
over the head. They
Yeah,
weren't
they had
tackled.
They had
right.
things to play with. All we were doing was taking their blood and storing
Yeah,
it.
that's all
Like
we
you
were
said,
doing.
Blood storage
like you say,
facility
taking
Keeping them
their
every
blood.
now and then and everything. It
for
made
our
them
own
learn to
nefarious
respect it.
purposes that we will not explain. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You didn't give you
was
didn't
a
even give
kid.
them you didn't even give them orange juice and a banana to get their electrolytes back up. Like, you know what I
They
mean?
did not feed them. There was
Come
no.
on, man.
They
You know what I
kids
mean?
never had a meal.
That's
No one ever
torture. Like,
Orange
You
juice
want
and a
it.
banana.
They took their blood twice a day, and they could sleep,
Come on.
and that's it.
Exactly.
No food. Take your blood and
No
sleep.
food, so they couldn't replenish. Like, that's torture, man. They couldn't even give him a Capri Sun, bro. Come on now.
I've never seen a kid be okay with the needle, by the way. I've never
But,
once seen
yeah,
a kid just be
right?
like, go ahead. Yeah, hey, let's watch. It's
I'm
going to
ready.
be cool.
Right?
Right.
Never seen that happen one time.
Oh.
Maybe I don't, and maybe that's on me. Maybe I just don't see a lot of kids getting stuck
Usually,
with needles.
the-
And that's
Hitch,
just,
maybe those kids are usually on those Netflix series.
Right, right.
Mass murderers and whatnot. That's why. If you're usually okay with needles and blood at a young age, you're probably going to be on a Netflix or special. Or something.
11 was fine with it. She didn't mind. She was okay.
isn't she marrying John Bon Jovi's son or something like that?
Exactly, bro.
Or they are married or
Exactly.
something?
But I mean, and children are very easy to manipulate, obviously.
Yeah, just like her, like a 12-year-old. It's now like this. I don't even know, bro. It's crazy. She's like 20. She's almost like Omega, right? When we see her, like Millie Bobby Brown's like ascension as an actress, like it's very similar to Omega's. Like,
Interesting casting if they decided to do a live.
That feels like
live
this feels like I'm in a Collider article now.
right?
Millie Bobby Brown, Omega.
I mean, she's in everything, so maybe she'll do the crossover to Star Wars at some point. I mean,
Why not?
who knows? Why?
I feel like over the next, let's see, how old is she? Like 20, 60 years, she'll probably figure out a way to do one Star Wars thing at some point.
Right.
Every actor in history has figured that out because Star Wars has become a home to basically a lot of famous people. A lot of famous people want to be part of Star Wars somehow, so it would make sense.
I will say, I like the route they're going with not the A-listers. So I don't know how I would like Star Wars to have all A-listers. You know what I mean? Because they have egos, and with
Lizzo
egos,
and Jack Black. That's all I need.
But I'm saying A-listers, like, they want input. And DP knows this. A-listers are going to want input in the script. They're going to want things their way, and you don't want too many.
Too much recognition. Like that's like having Ben Affleck in Star Wars and stuff.
That's like Denzel when they talked about Denzel being in it.
No,
Like, come on.
no. Just keep it to like the mid to unknowns and everything, and that's fine.
I like
Don't
that,
get
yeah.
the A-listers.
But here's the thing. I think you're denying some things that could be pretty awesome. Think about it like this: Tom Cruise Star Wars movie.
Could be weird. Could be weird.
He's short, so that'd be pretty tough, bro.
That would be an okay movie because all I'm thinking of is live. What's that? Live.
The Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow does the Mission Impossibles. You probably get some awesome stunts, some weird
The only
acrobatics there.
Well, you'd have definitely a motorcycle because that's literally in a clause in his contract that he has to ride. He's a massive motorcycle collector, and you have to have a motorcycle scene. So there would be.
He'd be calling the shots, but you're right. He would probably be one writing and whatever.
You know what he could have done, honestly? Han Solo. He would like to do a chase scene. I could have seen him do something like a Solo type movie, or like an Andor. You know, the stunts and all that stuff, jumping like that would be, I think, something down his alley. I don't think. I mean, there's those Keanu Reeves deepfakes.
Is he like 63 or something? Like, how old is he?
Yeah, he's getting older.
Yeah, he's 63, and he got one more Mission Possible in his contract.
And he'd make a great pilot, so he could be in any. He could be in like a Rogue Squadron story. I mean, he could be maybe some other rebel pilot that maybe we would be introduced to. You know, someone maybe like Kaz. You know, who knows? Right. Some maybe a force sensitive rebel pilot who has a droid that he has befriended and maybe he worked on and built. I mean,
I can see Tom Cruise. I can see him in it. You know, I'm having trouble with Denzel. So
yeah,
I certainly think
they had Giancarlo Stanton as Moff Gideon. Denzel could have been Moff Gideon. Think about it.
Denzel, you could put Denzel. I think in a lot of roles in Star Wars, and it would be pretty good.
And he would do good. He's a talented actor,
and he's really good in The Equalizer. So you know he can do the heavy stuff.
All three of them.
All the Equalizers were great.
Yeah,
his only sequels that he's ever done.
You know what's crazy about the show ending? You know, as we kind of wrap it up, though, like it's like, and then when I saw it end, it's ironic that we talk about an Omega series because I thought that they thought the ratings were so shitty that the way they ended it, because they had this written way beforehand, it lined up to the Rogue Squadron series was 100% going to have Omega in it. Because now when you think about her joining the rebellion, she 100% was going to be in that Rogue. She would have been a character because they talked about the characters in there, but they never told casting or the characters. But now they say she's joining the rebellion. She was 100% going to be a pilot on that show. And I think that was going to be, like we talk about, the Omega spinoff. She was going to be in Rogue Squadron, but with that being canceled, I don't know if they'll bring it back, but that was 100% something that would have been part of that show. Now that we have this payoff that the adult Omega is going to be a rebellion pilot, which would have been cool to see. I think that would have been a nice way of putting it, rather than taking her down the whole Jedi path or, Force user. Mm-hmm. I mean, she just has Force intuition, so she would have been a really, really good pilot, which would have been cool.
I think Venture should have been like, nah. Like, does she have any Force sensitivity? No, bye.
I don't think they would. I don't think she's got any Jedi potential. I think,
but she has Force intuition.
She has intuition.
Yeah.
She has a natural.
But you guys think she's like just kind of better at like
she's better at stuff than you are,
or something like that.
She would be like
really good at darts.
Yeah, she's like the LeBron. Like if we're hooping, like she's just a generational child that can do everything. She can see things faster. It's not, she really is like,
She's got a high basketball IQ.
But she's medically altered in some way that makes her sort of interesting to the diabolical brain. There's something about her, but I don't think she's got any Force sensitivity or anything like that.
No, they wouldn't let her compete anyway because she's like a genetic. She's a clone.
Ken, you don't think she's Force sensitive? She
really
is.
No. I don't think so. I think
100%
that's completely. We were just hoping that she was, and they were talking about M count and metachlorians and blah blah blah. But I don't think she's got any.
As soon as you brought Ventress into this, and she didn't immediately say no and turn around, like that's the thing. Like what are you telling me? Having someone that you definitely know would be able to tell if somebody else can use the Force, be like ambivalent. Like why?
And then she was gone. Like that character just came and went, gone.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like, this was a fun time.
They tease too many things, I think. I mean, overall though, this is a phenomenal series. It sucks that it's over. And like I said, the ending, it was like a two-parter. It's crazy that they did it like that. It was nice to get whatever 45, 50 minutes, but to me, that 50 minutes was still rushed. I felt like we could go give me one more episode. Especially when they did the epilogue.
I didn't want it to end. I didn't want it to end either. So
I didn't. No, and you know what it was? It was the epilogue that really threw me for a spanner because the time jump literally was like a 13-year time jump. I just felt like that was way too far to just show, like you're saying, an aged Hunter and an aged Batcher, and you're not going to show the rest of him. Like, it just, you know what I mean? I don't know. You know, we're all going to have our differences, but you know. On a lighter note,
we'll see where it goes next. So hopefully we get like a Omega series or something,
right?
Something that continues the story in her saga and everything.
For sure. And starting next week, I'm actually extremely excited for this because these are going to be a bunch of new characters, different looks of the Rule of Two, different looks of the Sith. I mean, we're all going to have red eyes starting next week, so. The Anakin, the yellow red eyes, whatever you want to call it, it's definitely coming into full force with Tales of the Empire. So I'm very excited for that. You can't wait to dive into these dark side stories because it's been years on years on years that we've never got these stories. So can't wait to diagnose and dissect those with the panel here. Until next week on this iconic season finale is. Iconic. But guys, I can't wait to see and go over this stuff next week with you guys. But until next week, this is the way.
This is the way.